Day 5 under the dome. No, people were bringing up a good point. Why don't they just follow the cliff edge? Because it follows the road, right? I I guess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know how it actually looks because I haven't seen the anime, but apparently in the anime it shows what the everything looks like. So I just assume the road like kind of follows the cliff, I guess. So maybe if you just follow that, I don't know. Where's Machina? I want my old man pervert derp back. I'm scared. Machina, hold me. Alright. Let's begin from the conclusion. Oh, we're all dead. Not today, it rained all day long. Oh, motherfucker. Well, at least we're getting a free bath. Well, I mean, we could get a bath anyway. Oh, no, this is worse because it's probably humid. Oh, God, we're gonna die! To be honest, I had no idea rain could be this unpleasant. The constant drumming of water against the tent was unexpectedly loud, enough to make conversation difficult, and the light entering the tent was far dimmer than usual, thanks to my strong and astigmatism. There we go. Sorry, brain. Not working. Everything seemed fuzzy and indistinct, so it was extremely difficult to do much of anything. But the bigger problem was the rainwater that oozed up from the ground beneath us and the damp chill it brought. This morning I woke to a real double whammy. The psychological jolt of emerging from a familiar nightmare and the physical pain of a throbbing headache. I'd piled 2 mats under my sleeping bag last night, but when I came to, I was soaking wet. My body temperature had fallen as I slept, which probably isn't good for the people who are really injured, like the one with the broken legs and the fever. And the chilled blood running through my veins had numbed the blood vessels in my brain. Oh my god. How'd I know? Not how'd I know. How did I figure it was gonna fucking start raining? Even after waking, my calorie-starved body struggled to warm itself. Ooh, my teeth chattering uncontrollably in my mouth, I stared reproachfully up through the tent at the merciless sky. Even Amane gets to look up at the sky. Sky ain't helping today. Kazuki, cuddle us! Changing out of my wet clothes might have helped matters somewhat, if my spare outfit hadn't been soaked as well. I hit on the idea of a hot drink after a few minutes, but it was pouring outside the tent. Starting a fire would have been difficult, and more importantly, the fierce sound of rain striking against the canvas had thoroughly drained me of the willpower to even poke my head outside. I know this is beneficial, but I like how fucking Kazuki's like, I'm totally fine. Fuck, man. I'm like the skinniest bitch out of all of us, but I don't care. Apparently unable to just sit back and watch, Kazuki had ventured out of the midst of the downpour for my sake, bringing back boiled water for our onion skin extract beverage. The stuff was never really worthy of the name tea, but by now we'd let some of let those same skins seep so many times it was little more than faintly yellow water. Of course, I was plenty happy to even have that, and Kazuki's act of mercy contrasted so strongly with my own cowardice that I felt about ready to cry with gratitude. But when I glanced over at her sitting there, her wet hair matted like a stray dog's coat, I couldn't exactly fire off my casual, "Sure, a refill would be nice." My hand still gripping the empty cup, I slowly shook my head. Isn't it unsettling that there's, like, no music playing? There's only, like, the slight sound of rain. At least I think there is. Hold on. Hold the phone. I think I'm hearing it right. Hold on. Let's do this. Yup, there it is. Ooh, I like that sound, though. Ooh, I love the sound of rain. Hold on. Fuck it. There we go. Let's keep the sound effects up there. Get the immersion factor right now. Storm's terrible.
なんか大きな音がしてるなとは思ったけど。
Even when the roars jolted me awake for a moment, my listlessness quickly overwhelmed me again. I simply didn't have the energy to wake up that early. Immediately after the fall, I had been unable to sleep through the night. As I dozed lightly with frequent interruptions, the morning often seemed to sneak up on me before I knew it. But lately that had changed dramatically. Once I managed to doze off, it was very difficult to wake up. More and more, falling asleep felt like sinking into a thick bed of mud. Ugh.
疲れてるのかな。
肉体的というよりは精神的な疲労が濃いのでしょうね。それと単純に環境に慣れ始めたのが原因ね。
Yeah, we're becoming used to this place, which is bad. Let's get out of here.
過酷な環境に慣れないうちは寝ている間に記憶の整理を行いながらも周囲の状況に警戒を怠らないから小さな物音でも目を覚ましてしまうのよ。
The stat sounded plausible. Now that you mentioned it, the first few days sleeping in a tent, the stirring of a neighbor next door would be enough to jerk me awake, and my eyes would open automatically at first light of dawn. In that respect, Kazami Kazuki, occupation student, was an ideal tent mate. Once asleep, she'd lie so still in her bag, I sometimes half worried she'd suddenly died in there. Oh, let's not. No, Kazuki will be fine. She's not even gonna die here. She's not even gonna die. She's gonna be perfectly fine. I don't even know how the fuck she'd die other than my theory of eating people, but I don't think I don't think she's just gonna let people eat her. Here's my broken. Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Her left arm's useless, yes? What if she, like, oh my god, this is gonna sound real fucked up, but what if, like, she's getting eaten or whatever, and, like, she's like, somehow her fucking left arm comes off, and that's how she escapes! And then she That's probably so fucking stupid. What am I even saying anymore? Oh my god. Like, I think I have a revelation, and then in my mind I'm like, this is dumb. But it'd be so awesome if it happened. Anyway, I never once heard her snore or grunt in her sleep. Lately, Kazuki had been sleeping on a very regular schedule. We'd start preparing for dinner at 6:30 p.m. and finish our meal by 7. Or what passed for a meal is literally weeds. Oh god, burp! By 8, I'd notice her stifling small yawns. And around 9, she'd come out and declare herself sleepy. Oh my god, why am I burping? At 10, she would crawl out of our tent, cheerfully spread out her sleeping bag, take off her uniform, and leave it neatly folded beside her bed. Well, why did I say bed? Bedside, but... And the instant her head hit the rucksack she used for a pillow, she'd exhale noisily just once and go silent. Within 10 seconds, I'd hear her soft, regular breathing that indicated she'd fallen asleep. I wish I could fall asleep instantly. Of course, I couldn't flip the switch to sleep mode quite so easily, or on such a predictable schedule. My conversational partner lost, I had very little to do with myself at late at night. So I managed, until I managed to fall asleep, I'd stave off boredom by staring at Kazuki's sleeping face. That's how I'd stave off boredom. After a few minutes in dreamland, she'd occasionally make faces in her sleep, most often furrowing her brow in caricature of troubled thought, sometimes smiling dopily at nothing in particular.
ねえ、和樹って夢を見たりするの？
She was like, the fuck you mean? We all have dreams.
そうね。看護師さんとかお花屋さんとかケーキ屋さんなんて素敵ね。
Pastry shop like Machina? What? That doesn't even mean anything. Oh my god, what is happening?
そういう話じゃなくってさ。
And in the first place, what's with the half-ass attempt at pretending you're some run-of-the-mill girl with cutesy little dreams? What you? Oh, you she is. Forget being a nurse. You'd be much suited to the role of black market surgeon with a tattered old doctor's robe. Florist, cupcake peddler, tricon artist, bam! Maybe the founder of some sketchy cult.
ああ、夢って睡眠時に見る方の話？それならもちろん見るわよ。
Guaranteed she probably only dreams of Yuji.
どんな夢？
今日見たのは学校に入りたての頃、学食のセルフサービスのシステムがよくわからなくて戸惑った時の夢を見たわ。
Ooh, since she's got that photographic memory, can she, like, in her dreams, relive every single moment that she's ever had in the past? But in a dream? Bruh.
基本的に過去に経験した記憶の再配置が多いかしら。空を飛んだりするような夢はあまり見ないわね。
That's because I guess geniuses just don't have those dreams.
そうなんだ。私は最近高いところから落ちる夢をよく見るよ。
Ooh, that feels bad, man. I've had dreams of the sort ever since I was a child. Most often, I'm falling from the top of a cliff. As the ground beneath my feet crumbles into nothing and I plunge downward, I stare in quiet composure at the earth far below. I think we've all had those dreams. My thoughts are oddly calm. Guess I'm going to land right about there. And as long as I keep that detached perspective, I never seem to hit the ground. Eventually, it occurs to me that I'm dreaming. In the next moment, I slam into the earth and jerk awake in my bed, my whole body rigid with shock. What might a dream like that signify? Kazuki's answer was brief. It means you're uneasy. Other than falling, my most common dream was probably of the running variety. This very morning, I found myself fleeing some vaguely defined but menacing pursuers. A countless number of black shadows hot on my heels. I was pushing my way desperately through the forward through the oily, thick air, dragging my strangely heavy legs along the ground. The illusion was unusually persistent. Even when I realized it was a dream, it kept its hold on me. Just as I began to beg myself to wake up, my eyes had slowly opened to the sensation of that throbbing headache. Better wake up than be in that dream. Turned on my cell phone briefly to check the time. Apparently, it was already past 2 p.m. Not that we could tell with this weather. The rain was still hammering fiercely down. By now, the tent was half submerged in muddy water. There was nothing to do but curl myself up in my heavy, wet uniform, rubbing my arms and trembling from the cold. Although I was doing nothing at all, my stomach was still growling, and although my stomach was growling, it was still raining outside, and can't get food without a car. Thinking of the time it would take to start a cooking fire, I lost all motivation to try. What were the other girls doing right now? Probably doing the same. I'm more worried about the one with the fever and the broken legs. Like, she's literally laying down and just laying down in this muddy ass, fucking cold ass water. Oh. I took a quick glance at outside the entrance of the tent, but there didn't seem to be anyone moving due to the downpour. They must have all been quietly enduring in the storm in their tents. The steady drumming of the rain was the only sound I could hear. The cries of the cicadas, so vigorous and persistent when the weather was clear, was utterly gone. So too the eerie shrieks of the unseen birds hidden in the treetops above. Birds, help!
Kazuki?
Suddenly wanting to hear another human's voice, I called Kazuki's name. There was no response. What the fuck? Kazuki, where the fuck did you leave me? Don't leave. No bully, Amane. When I looked over, I found Kazuki sitting on her sleeping mat just as before. But at some point, her eyes had fallen closed.
そうか。2時か。
Every day, Kazuki would take a nap between 2 and 3 in the afternoon. Could she be doing that to conserve energy? It was never more than a quick 15-minute doze, so the first few times I thought she'd nodded off out of complete exhaustion. But it happened every day at roughly the same time, so it soon became obvious that this little siesta was part of her schedule.
何も座ったまま眠らなくてもいいのに。
It's kind of creepy, just sitting up and just nobody's going to complain if you lie down like a normal person. Maybe they want her, she wants everyone to think she's awake. Of course, considering the minor flood we had going on in here, that probably wouldn't be a much more relaxing option at the moment. This was a grave problem indeed. We'd have to think up of some countermeasure of sorts before it happened again. What? What are we gonna do? We have nothing. But the damn floor isn't the only inconvenience brought on by the rain. For one thing, writing in this diary isn't easy when the pages are wet. And unfortunately, I've been in the grips of a much more serious dilemma for a little while now. Probably thanks to that big mug of onion tea this morning, I'm currently enduring the desperate need to visit the bathroom. Just fucking pee outside the tent, no one's gonna care. That's what I'd do, I'd be like, fuck it. The urge to pee was painfully intense, requiring constant effort to restrain. My pen trembled against the diary pages as I wrote. I surveyed the interior of the tent, but found nothing that might serve as a makeshift umbrella or raincoat. When this lane lets up, I'm going straight to the captain and proposing we cobble together an outhouse with a roof. Or, I'm going straight to the captain and peeing on her ass because she's a bitch. I'm making special note of that here, so it can't possibly slip my mind. Thanks, journal. Ooh, there they go. All right. Thank God it's over. What was it, 5:45? Oh, God, no. It's going so fast now. We're fucked. It's almost been a week. Okay, calm down. Calm down. Someone in the comments told me the shit's about to happen. And I don't know what that means, but I'm scared. 6th day under the dome. After a full day of unrelenting rain, we woke up to a blessedly clear morning. Well, our life here had begun to assume something of a rhythm. Initially, our mornings were quite chaotic, with people crawling out of their tents at random times, but recently everyone's been waking up at 6 a.m. at the latest. Although it would be more accurate to say they're forcibly being woken up. Naturally, the one beating the stragglers, the stragglers out of bed is none other than my partner, Kazami Kazuki, occupation student. Of course, that doesn't mean she literally goes around thrashing them. That wouldn't be much too inefficient. And I can't really imagine her doing that. The recipient of her violence is the bottom of an anodized aluminum cooking pot. Oh, she just bong 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 bong. You know, 15 minutes before the 6 a.m. wake up call. Oh, there it is. Holy shit, that fucking freaked me out a little bit. I was like, who's there? Okay. 15 minutes before the 6 a.m. wake-up call, Kazuki dangled the pot in question from a tree branch and began to wail away on the metal surface with a wooden sword she's nicknamed the punishment rod, producing a piercing series of clangs. Look at her Look at her becoming a leader. I mean, she basically is. Then shouted a wake-up call in full military style. Classic Kazami family. What's the deal with the punishment rod anyway? Sadly, it's nothing more than a crude wooden sword we'd use to split watermelons as part of our recreational activities at the camp, and when someone as tiny as Kazuki brandishes it around, it looks less like a weapon and more like a prop for some corny-ass slapstick routine. 10 minutes after the initial wake-up call came the signal for folding hammocks. Apparently, we're on an old-fashioned battleship now. After 5 minutes to roll up our sleeping bag and mat, the pot received another vigorous thrashing for the 6 a.m. muster. All hands lined up in front of the tents for roll call. Obviously, this is all pretty annoying, and at first there were a lot of complaints. But when forcibly informed that fixing a regular schedule of activity, burp, in order to reset your body's internal clock, is the fundamental basis of a sound health maintenance plan. Nobody had enough counter-argument to voice open objections. And so, every morning, the entire group gathers obediently in a line for the daily physical. Or, as the seniors refer to it behind our backs, Professor Kazami's tour of inspection. Listen, these health checkups amount to little more than a quick interview about any ailments, followed by the words of caution the doctor has to offer. But considering our isolation and general cluelessness, Kazuki's extensive knowledge has become something of a reassuring guidepost for many. So this daily advice is fairly received, for the most part. As the comparison to an imperious doctor sweeping around their hospital might suggest, Kazuki has a retinue on these rounds. I tag along beside her from one patient to the next, taking notes in the memo pad we devoted to medical records. The summary I jotted down at the end of the page doesn't change much from day to day. No major problems given the circumstances. To rephrase, everyone's suffering from varying degrees of malnutrition, 'cause we're dying, but they're not going to keel over and die today or tomorrow. Until we start eating people. Isn't there like a disease that like... I'm pretty sure I read somewhere there's a disease that if us as a human eats too much human meat, like we'll get sick and die anyway. At least I forgot what it's called. Oh shit, man. I'm trying to remember. I can't. But so if we were, it's kind of counterproductive to eat to live, to eat people. You eat people to live, but then you die anyway because you're gonna eat a lot of people. I guess. Well, if it did happen in this case, there's a lot of us, so we'd be eating a lot of people. Stop talking about eating people. I don't want it to happen. Okay. I'm like off the fucking rails today, man. Jesus. After the general inspection, we turn our attention to those who'd suffered external injuries. That is Kaneda and the cut on her forehead, as well as Sakurai and her lacerated abdomen. We perform what treatment we can, cleaning the crudely stitched wounds with a disinfectant made from wild herbs, then replacing their bandages with the ones we'd washed, cleaned, and sterilized in boiling water. Oh boy. And finally we stopped by to visit Hiroka-san in the large tent to wipe the sweat from her feverish body. Well, this part's pretty much exclusively my job now. When the morning rounds are finished at last, I seek out Mr. Ochi, and report everyone's health acceptable, while Kazuki heads to Koide-senpai's tent. The daily rations for each individual are being adjusted depending on the severity of their malnutrition symptoms as diagnosed by Kazuki. The distribution of the day's food, or as Kazuki now refers to it as chow time, is held at 7 a.m. Until then, everyone's supposed to take care of their laundry and air out their bedding. In particular, our sleeping bags have to be thoroughly dried in the sun on a regular basis, or they will be sprouting clumps of mold before we know it. Ugh. After passing on the medical report, I return to our tent, grab Kazuki's bedding along with mine, then lay them on top of the tent to dry. Finally, I head to the stream to take care of our combined laundry, then make my way to the captain's tent with our rice cooker to receive our daily rations. I'm expecting one day to just go in there, daily rations, you ain't getting shit. What? And then the candy! The routine started normally enough this morning, but at this final step, we ran into our first serious breakdown in the process. One that will probably have lingering effects going forward. Oh, fuck me. I arrived slightly early at the captain's tent, where she manages our entire food supply in cooperation with Mr. Ochi and her partner. I'm the captain. I might just be... I don't trust these two. I don't trust the fucking captain and Mr. Ochi. He hasn't said shit for the most part. He's real skeevy looking. And this fucking captain bitch is always around him, completely neglecting her partner, who she apparently hates. Oh my god. I would not trust them with our food supply. You know who I would trust with our food supply? Kazuki. God damn it. Or me. Fuck, I ain't gonna eat it. Okay, that's a lie. If it was actually me, I might. No, I wouldn't. And her partner, Koide, was waiting inside as usual, but today her face was ghastly pale. Uh-oh. What happened? Shh. It's okay. Oh shit.
何かあったんですか？
It's gonna be okay.
一本足りないの。どうしよ
Oh shit. We're short what?
う。足りないって何がです？
人参の数よ。小出さん、数え間違いではなくて、もう一度数え直してみては。
Oh fuck. Then oh my god. Missing food in a situation like this?
人参？
As they explained the situation to me, there had been a total of 11 carrots carefully stocked away. On Captain Shakishida's orders, when the number fell to 10, they were planning to halt distribution and hold the rest in reserve. But when Koide-san counted this morning, the 11th carrot they'd been intending to divide and hand out to the group was missing.
じゃあ今日から人参は配給されないってこと？
That is fucking stupid.
それはさして重要ではないのよ。問題はいつの間にか一本消えていたという事実ね。
Who would have taken the carrot? Any one of us, really. Not us two, because we know what we're doing, but like, and the other girls? Maybe the dog snuck it? But it was carefully I don't know, maybe the girl with the dog was like, oh, maybe I could feed him the dog and the carrots and the glavins and the... Oh my god, that girl's gonna get eaten.
消えた？
人参に足があるわけでもないし、一人でに消えることはないわ。ということは、可能性は2つ。単純に数え間違えていたか、もしくは誰かが食べちゃったか。
Who's the least who's the least malnourished right now?
私じゃないよ。私食べてない。本当だよ。私人参なんて嫌いだし。
Hold on, we weren't accusing you.
疑ってはいませんから安心してください。ただそうなると、もっと厄介な問題が浮上してくるのよね。
I bet you that captain bitch is gonna blame her right off the fucking bat.
どういうこと？
つまり、誰かが盗んだという問題です。
Son of a bitch. Maybe Mr. Ochi fucking stole it. Who knows?
盗まれた？誰に？
そう。厄介なのはその点です。こんな閉鎖空間で犯人探しでも始めようものなら、誰もが疑心に暗鬼を生みます。
We should just say that carrot never actually existed.
正直、現状では結束や信頼が失われるのが最大のデメリットです。
Everyone suspects everyone else and is suspected in turn. That's never a pleasant feeling, and it rarely ends well. It certainly wouldn't help that our group was composed of half-starved teenage girls. If the criminal was discovered, there's no doubt that she would have faced vicious denunciation. She would have been eaten. And if the investigation failed, it was all too obvious that reign of condemnation. Condemnation. Fuck, I said it right too. Would fall instead on Koide for allowing this theft from their food supply to take place through her incompetence.
どうしよう。助けてよ、風見さん。私が悪いんじゃないよね。だって私ちゃんと千秋さんの言う通りに、部長の言う通りにしただけだよ。
Honestly, it was probably the captain. Look, if I were to distrust somebody, probably the captain or the one with the dog, because at least when it comes to food.
落ち着きなさい、りっちゃん。
いや、りっちゃんって呼んでやるなよ、先輩だぞ。あんた幼馴染か。
Listen, it makes us more comfortable and familiar with each other.
いいですか、小出さん。幸いなことに人参紛失の事実を知っているのはここにいる人間と犯人だけです。つまり黙っていればバレないのではなくて、
うわ、隠蔽だよ。泥に泥を塗って隠す気だ、この女。
Well, would you rather everyone go crazy with distrust?
それは無理。人参の残りの本数は部長も先生も知ってるし、黙っていてもいつかバレちゃう。
Motherfucker, she's right. God damn it. It wasn't a proportionally large theft, but carrots are easy enough to count. Its disappearance would be all too obvious.
この場合、解決法というか打開策は2つあります。面白い方法とつまらない方法があるけれど、どっちが聞きたい？
Fun way.
面白い方。
Yeah, that's my girl.
いや、両方聞かせろよ。
Oh, she probably will.
それじゃあまずは面白い方だけど、これは簡単。もうね、いっそのことここにある人参全部持って逃げる。
I like it. I like that plan. It's really risky, but I like it.
逃げる？なんで？どこに？
Run along the wall.
人参がなくなって何が困るって、突き詰めた話、部長にこっぴどく叱られるのが一番嫌なわけでしょ？
Cause I got the bitch.
だったら人参を全部持って山に逃げ込んで、そのまま脱出を試みてはどうかしら。
Thanks, Kazuki. You're a bad influence, you know that? But that's why we like you.
うまいこと脱出して救助を呼ぶことができれば、たかが人参を持ち逃げしたことなんてもう誰も責めないだろうし、むしろ救世主として末代までの語り草になるわよ。
You know what's funny is if she did in fact do this plan, Koide, Kazuki wouldn't even be mad. That's the funny part.
それがあんたの言う面白い方法？
Alright, what's the boring way now?
面白いわよね。
Sounds fucking fun to me.
いや、全然。
Amane, you're a buzzkill.
あれ？
あれ？じゃねえよ。
Go shuck yourself. I should say that.
真面目に考えてよ。私、このままじゃ千秋さんに怒られる。
One, hashtag go shuck yourself in chat. Chat? The fuck is this? Comments. It's basically the same thing. And two, yeah, she would kill you. And then eat you.
ちなみに、つまらない方法ってのは？
ああ、それはもう本当につまらないわよ。ただの因数合わせね。
何それ？
Make it look like there's 11 when there's actually 10?
要は人参の本数が合っていれば何も問題はないのでしょ？
With those words, Kazuki picked up a kitchen knife and casually lopped off the tip of the nearest carrot. With quick, firm strokes, she sliced the carrot into pieces and started right in on the next one.
ちょっと、貴重な食べ物をおもちゃにしないで。
まあいいから落ち着いてよく見なさい。どう？ほら、これで11本。
When she cut it, I was like, oh, that's what she's doing. When I looked down at the cutting board, the missing vegetable had somehow reappeared. I counted the sliced carrot again, slowly and carefully. There were 11 in total. God damn it.
何これ？11本。あれ？嘘、本当に11本ある。不思議、どうやったの？
Are all you girls idiots except Kazuki here?
結構有名なパズルなんだけれど、知らない？ある物体を切り分けて並べ替えると全体の面積が増えたり、逆にピースを追加しても面積は変化しないといったよくあるパラドックスパズルよ。
あ、そういえば、なんかお土産物屋さんの店先で木でできたそんなパズル見たことがある。
多分それはペントミノとかそれ系のものだと思うけど、今回私がやったのはもっとずっと単純なものよ。一部が欠けているのが一目でわかるしね。
But is really anybody gonna actually look at that really now?
人参の本数がもっと多ければ それに比例して欠損部が小さくなるからバレにくいんだけど。
うわー、気持ち悪い。魔女だ、あんた魔女だよ、恐ろしい。
No, Amane. She's a genius.
失礼な。あんまり生意気なことを言うとネズミに変えるわよ。
Oh, fuck. Amane, shut up.
私魔女でもいい。鏡さん、ありがとう。この恩は必ず返すから。
You can repay us when we need to eat somebody, I guess.
いいのよりっちゃん、気にしないで。
だからりっちゃん呼ぶなって、先輩だっつってんだろ。
She's like, she has the mind of a wise 50,000-year-old fucking person. Like, was Koide Senpai aware exactly who she just put herself in debt to? Nope. Even so, Kazuki said not to worry about it, so maybe a trick like that doesn't even register as a favor for her. Personally, though, I thought her smile at that moment was saying, I don't expect you to be much use to me anyway, and it sent a bit of a chill down my spine. Either way, I sure as hell didn't have the courage to ask Kazuki for clarification. Oh no. Oh no. Here it is. Yup, the 7th day under the dome. Status quo unchanged. The end. It just skips to the next day. No, I guess that's a bit too extreme as an abridged version. We'd now spent a solid week shipwrecked. Naturally, no one was running around like chickens with their head cut off anymore. Yet. Our lives had taken on the repetitive quality of a long-running television show that decayed into a pale imitation of its former self. The kind you keep watching every week out of sheer inertia. Although we were thoroughly sick of eating or even looking at the vile plant soup that became our primary sustenance, its proportion of our diet was only rising. The amount of rice distributed to us was decreasing steadily with each passing day. And even the edible grasses that had seemed so indefinitely abundant at first were vanishing with alarming swiftness from picked over areas near the entrance of the forest. Oh boy, everything was in short supply. I don't want to die. I don't want to get eaten. Amane, don't eat people. But the only thing we were gaining more of from day to day was boredom. And we'd grown accustomed to life here. There was a lot of less pointless effort being expended, and a lot more time spent sitting around quietly, preserving our energy. Other than that, I suppose we at least had an effectively limitless supply of water from the spring. Yeah, there you go. But since we were all using it heavily, the water needed to be boiled before we could drink it. There were a number of people who found this delay irritating, sometimes skipping it entirely, myself among them. But Kazuki strongly recommended that we heat the water to 170 degrees for at least a minute in order to kill the bacteria likely proliferating in the stream. Yeah, fuck that. Apparently. And in fact, it seemed that chronic diarrhea had begun to spread among those who continued to drink the water raw. Ugh. What do you mean that reminds you? Also, why did you shout that out?
急に大きな声を出さないでといつも言っているでしょうに、あなたは本当にもう何なのかしら。私を驚かすのがあなたの中で静かなブームを巻き起こしているとでも言うの？
Oh my god. That was just one long sentence.
ごめん。とりあえず息継ぎをしよう。死んじゃうよ。
Yeah, really, Kazuki.
次やったらお尻をぶつわよ。
いや、シャアからごめんって。それより聞いて。
Hold on. Hear me out. So we're gonna take the diarrhea and Jesus, no.
何なの？
トイレを作ろうよ。
Just fucking everywhere's a toilet.
は？なぜ病原菌の発生源をわざわざ？あ、いや、そうか。今のうちにガソリンを。なるほど。まずプラスが1ね。
Kazuki. Scanning. Brain. Finding. Information.
カズキ
Shut up, woman. Figuring things out. When I tentatively called her name, Kazuki instantly thrust up her right index finger. Eureka! This was her signal for wait 10 seconds. Oh. If I ignored this command and kept talking, I knew all too well Kazuki would fire right back with a forceful, don't spew out gobs of worthless noise at me when I'm not ready to listen. Then glare at me with her deep dark eyes full of cold scorn and death, muttering, almost like a television in human form, in the disgusted tone of someone pulled out of bed by a telemarketer. I'd quickly learned to respect the signal. By now, one finger in the air from Kazuki, and I fell instantly silent for 10 seconds. You could practically see my tail drooping between my legs like a dog, giving a firm command to wait. Hey, 'cause she's a dog, you know? Honestly, I felt a little perverse admiration at how well she trained me.
いいアイデアだと思うわ。
Hooray! Well, I had no idea what sort of calculations Kazuki ran through in those 10 seconds to reverse her initial decision. She did Junkrat calculations, alright? Maybe she projected the pluses and minuses of building an outhouse through the next decade or so? Whatever the case may be, I had her permission to proceed with the toilet construction plan. With that settled, I headed off to ask Captain Sakashida's opinion on the matter. Admittedly, for the sake of form more than anything else. No, you can't do that. Look at her.
風見さんはなんて言ってるの
She's just always angry. All the fucking time. Learn to be... listen. You're just a bitch. Okay.
え
Wow. And she was already... What did she say?
どうせ風見さんが許可を出したから私のところに来たのでしょ
まあ
Yes, because she is in fact the smart one. Dude, I would be so... I'd be an asshole to this girl, by the way. Not like try to be an asshole to her, but if she was like talking how she talks to people, I'd be like, no, fuck you.
だったら勝手にすればそうやっていちいち私に責任を押し付けないと気が済まないの
別にそういうわけじゃ
Every student club in our school had its functional disputes. In particular, the sports teams were notorious for their bitter infighting. You could fill a book with the petty spats that raged every year. Our basketball team was no exception from the rule, but it was somewhat unusual in that our conflicts never got too serious. The reason for that lay at the top. Captain Sakashida's charismatic presence would be a nice way to spin it, but to make a long story short, everyone was too afraid of her powerful family to risk making an enemy out of her. Oh, so she's got a powerful family? That doesn't mean she could be a bitch. Get the... I'm eating her first. Fuck it. But out here, her parents' influence was no longer a prop to her authority. And as our focus narrowed to the problems immediately before us, some potential future reprisal was the last thing on anyone's mind. In other words, the captain's position was growing uncertain. Our education at school for rich young ladies might not have provided us with many practical skills, but there was one noticeable exception. It had instilled in us a sharp sense of smell, that is to say, the ability to sniff out a whining horse in any given... did I say win it? A whining horse? What's a... winning horse in any given race. The smell of a clear winner always attracts a crowd, even when they lie at rest. Over the several days we'd spent in the valley, the number of people surrounding Captain Sakashida had visibly declined. Her only consistent companion was Koide Ritsu, because she has to be, bound to her by a simplistic sense of obligation. Yup.
もういいよ、Amane. 行こう
Ibuki, come on. Help me out here. As I stood stock still in front of the captain, trying in vain to find some response to her words, my fellow freshman, Ibuki Haruna, pulled me away by the hand. Okay. So I look up at the sky. Ibuki Haruna. The only child of the president of a corporation headquarters in Kasukabe that imported sold luxury foreign cars. In Kazuki's opinion, Decidedly insolent despite her total ignorance of the ways of the world. Listless and lazy to boot. An exemplary child of the modern era. And in the opinion of her dorm roommate Sakuma, a total coward at heart despite constantly acting tough, and she doesn't even realize everyone knows it.
だいたいさ、アマネはいい子すぎなんだよ。善人なんて損するだけだって。
But, look.
そう言われてもな。
Well, you're saying I'm gonna get eaten first? Because I ain't gonna do that. Personally, the idea of gaining personal profit at the expense of being despised by others never really appealed to me. My mother always raised me not to be a nuisance to others. Live your life so as you yearn folks' gratitude, not their
うち
scorn.
はほら、会社の輸入とかやっているでしょ。もうね、びっくりするよ。特にイタリア人。仕事に対する考え方が日本人とは全然違うの。注文した車と届いた車の色が違うなんてのはもう普通だし、クレームの電話を入れれば、担当者は今午睡の時間ですって。昼寝してるから電話に出られないってどう？
That's pretty awesome and funny.
時間をずらして何度も電話して、やっと担当者が捕まったかと思えば、こちらはちゃんと注文通りの色の車を送ったって、何の臆面もなく言うのよ。そんなはずはない。実際に届いたのは違う色の車だって言えば。じゃあ輸送中に誰かが色を塗り替えたんだ。とにかくうちのミスじゃないって。そんなバカな話ってある？
Look, shit, man, there's nothing we can do. Our hands are tied.
それで結局泣き寝入りしてしまうのが善人なのよ。結局のところ、善人なんてのは弱者を耳障りよくしただけのことよ。
それも極端だと思うけどな。
Nice person equal weakling. Trapped in the bottom of a gloomy ravine, we were all struggling to stay alive from day to day. Act like a soft-hearted good girl in such a harsh situation and you'd only get taken advantage of. It was an extreme argument, even an amoral one, but I couldn't deny that there was a kernel of truth buried underneath the bitterness. Ibuki had a definite dislike for soft-hearted people from the very beginning, and she was always the sort to be vocal about her distastes. But since the fall, that element of her personality had been growing more pronounced and acerbic by the day. Little by little, everything was growing warped. Without food, our minds were robbed of composure, as surely as our bodies were robbed of nutrients. Under such conditions, human beings lose their self-restraint. They slide slowly off the rails. I watched Ibuki quietly from behind as we walked. Her school uniform was seriously grimy. Not that mine was any better. No matter how diligently we washed our clothes, it was just unavoidable in this place. Ibuki had been one of the more fashion-conscious girls on the team, but these last few days she hadn't been glancing in the mirror. Without warning, she came to a stop and turned back to face me. Okay?
あれ、何の話をしてたんだっけ？
あ、イタリア人の話？
あ、そっか。どこまで話したっけ？
She is losing her marbles right now.
その話はもう終わったと思うけど。
I was like, yeah, she was done. What the fuck is...
そうだっけ？ごめん。なんか私、ぼーっとしてたみたい。なんだか最近、物忘れも多くて嫌になっちゃう。
I don't blame you. It's because we're dying.
イブキ、大丈夫
To a greater or lesser extent, everyone here had been losing weight, but Ibuki had been slim in the first place. She was edging into emancipated territory. There we go. Come on, brain. Work with me here. Her arms were as thin as branches on a withered tree where they emerged from their sleeves.
イブキ、また痩せた？
She's gonna be like, oh yes, I believe I did.
ああ、うん。かもね。
I feel like we're all losing weight. She laughed it off, getting thinner and thinner even though I'm doing nothing at all. What was the point of all the hard work I put into those diets? But I found it impossible to crack a smile in return.
体重計があれば何キロ減ったかわかるのにな。
7 days just eating some essentially just water soup. Plant soup, but like with barely any plants in it.
ちゃんと食べた方がいいよ。食べるって何を？それは。
Oh boy. It's getting there, boys and girls. When she asked point blank like that, I didn't have much to say. I would have been like, fucking eat your water soup. We knew perfectly well there was nothing left to fill her stomach. Watching as I hesitated awkwardly, Ibuki gave a high-pitched little giggle, then turned around and walked straight off towards her tent. She is going crazy. Humans being as malleable, our environment changes us. Dropped into a warp situation, we were slowly warping ourselves to match. Small personality shifts like Ibuki's were far from the worst of it. Our extended stay in this place had given rise to far more serious problems, some of which were rapidly becoming impossible to ignore. Oh god.
Amane, 悪いけれど、また薬草を積んできてもらえない？
I mean, I could. I'm not doing anything.
うん、また毒ダミでいい？
If there's even any left.
お願い。あと、できれば何か食べられそうなものを探してきてくれると助かるわ。
If you can't bring back anything good to eat, well, I guess it sucks.
探しては見るけど。
Well, I doubt how far in have we actually gone into this, I guess the farthest we've gone into the jungle is probably the spring. So, probably everything up until that point we've probably picked already, at least food-wise.
わかってる。見つけるまで帰ってくるなとは言わないわ。薬草を積むついでに探すだけでいいから。後で大テントに届けてちょうだい。
わかった。
Alright. The large tent, in other words, our little camp's sad excuse for a hospital. Kanzuki was visiting it several times a day, conversing with and treating the wounded. Sakurai's wound had given initial indications of recovery to the point she was increasingly able to move around, but a few days ago it had apparently begun to fester. Ugh. In fact, it was that very mobility that caused the problem. After many long days lying in that humid tent, breathing air thick with the pus and sweat characteristic of a place occupied by the wounded, Sakurai snuck out in Kazuki's absence and bathed in the bacteria-laden spring. You fucking stupid! The gash in her abdomen wasn't so deep as to threaten her life, but it was by no means shallow. Thanks to her malnutrition, the laceration simply hadn't closed completely, and so it seems the bacteria invaded her body, infecting the wound. Yeah, so stupid! I'm sure Kazuki told her fucking everything about her wound! Fortunately, chameleon plants were one thing we had an abundance of. Oh, thank God. No matter how many I picked, they seemed to grow right back. As the plants like to grow in marshy, damp spots, all I had to do was look for places sheltered from the sun, especially after rainy days like yesterday, where there would be large quantities waiting. The rain brought a number of other blessings apart from the chameleon plants. In particular, a large number of snails had appeared in the forest. Hey, we can eat them! Mushrooms had also sprouted up, but fuck that. But I wasn't about to thoughtlessly start grabbing them. Kazuki had severely beaten it into my head that a moment's confidence or a trivial act of carelessness could prove fatal. Opening the lid of our rice cooker, I began picking a moderate number of chameleon leaves, careful not to take too many from any one plant. While I was at it, I grabbed a few snails as they crawled slowly across the nearby tree branches. Yes, food. I mean, the French eat snails, right? So we should be good. Every time I tossed a snail into the makeshift bucket, its shell hit the bottom of the aluminum cooker with a sharp little rattle. Hearing that sound drove home the realization that I'd been reduced to viewing slugs as food, and a surge of self-pity abruptly welled up inside me. Feeling the corners of my eyes grow hot, I sniffled in a futile attempt to hold my misery inside. Crying wasn't going to help anything. I knew that all too well, but the tears still came. Don't think too much about it. As long as I stay alive, I'll be rescued. As long as I don't give up, I'll get home. God, imagine when we do get home. Imagine the food. The food that we'll eat, and we'll be like, oh, I haven't had actual food in days. Empty words, but I forced myself to believe them. It was the only thing that kept my hands moving. It was the only way I can see going on and as anything but ridiculous. Here you go, more snails. I had plucked a few dozen leaves from chameleon plants and captured 2 snails that an unpleasant surprise pulled me back to reality. Glancing down, I noticed with a start that my sock was stained dark red. Whoa! Ooh, a leech had latched onto the calf of my left leg. Oh, that's not good. It hung suspended from my skin, round and fat with blood. Well, it seems snails weren't the only slimy invertebrates that had multiplied in the wake of the torrential rain. Normally, I would have shrieked at the sight of the vile little creature, probably collapsed to my knees, weeping hysterically. Instead, I grabbed the leech firmly, peeled it off, and tossed it into the trees with a detached mechanical calm that surprised even myself. After removing the teeth still stuck in my leg, I carefully squeezed at the wound to writhe out the leech's poison. Apparently, it's called I didn't know leeches had poison. I thought they just did this blood-sucking thing. That's even scarier. But now that I looked, there was a numb, bleeding bite on my right leg as well. The leech had apparently already drank its fill, as it was nowhere to be found. Oh my god. For some reason, the collar of my uniform felt oddly tingly against my skin. Oh god, we've lost so much blood. And, okay, we've lost a lot of blood, and we have malnutrition. My heart thudding with cold dread, I slowly, tentatively brought my hand towards the back of my neck. My fingers brushed against a fat, slimy body. Ugh. God, I was right there. And this time I screamed. Oh, ooh, ooh. Ripping the leech off my neck, I hurled it hard against the ground and rained a furious series of kicks down on it. But the thing just didn't want to die. As I ground the writhing leech into the mud with my heel, my own blood gushed out in little spurts from its smashed body. It was seized by such an intense, dizzying spasm of sheer loathing that I thought I might pass out on the spot. I couldn't take this anymore. I just couldn't. Lukewarm blood trickled endlessly down the back of my neck. I pressed my hand against the wound, but it just wouldn't stop. You know, what the shit? This trip was over. Just as I decided to head back, I casually glanced up at the sound of slight rustling from above. And then the next instant, a number of leeches came raining down from the overlapping tree branches, aiming for me. Why are they attack? Oh my god. I mean, I know why. Clutching the mess kit tightly to my chest, I ran stumbling out of the forest as fast as my legs could carry me. Listen very carefully, sweet city dwellers. I'm willing to bet some y'all have been known to say things like, I love nature. Being out in green hills with my soul, or whatever, yes? Well, if you ever find yourself in need of a broken nose, try repeating it when I'm in the room. Those tidy little trails you hike down, with their trimmed trees and color-coded maps and porta-potties and rest stations. There's an artificial playground. That's an artificial playground for human beings. In that moment, watching the unceasing trickle of blood seeping into my uniform, I came to hate nature from the bottom of my heart.
いい加減にしなさい。こんな食事でも食べられない子もいるのよ。
Oh boy. When I returned with the mess kit, covered in my own blood, I heard a snarling voice inside the large tent. Captain Sakashida's here? I hesitated for a moment at the entrance. Looking around, I saw the rest of the girls in the area were similarly frozen in awkward uncertainty, looking deliberately away from the tent but clearly listening. Hello? I'm dying. Well, no, I'm just bleeding. Couldn't just do nothing. Maybe just nonchalantly popping in would drain some of the tension from the air. Heaving a single sigh, I braced myself emotionally, then stooped down and passed through the open tent flap. Hello! I'm here now. We might have called it a large tent, but it wasn't exactly spacious as hospitals go. When I crawled inside, the scent of closely packed sedentary bodies was as thick as always. And today, the droning of flies filled the air. Ugh. This was a much more recent development. Apparently the smell of blood and pus had grown strong enough to prove an irresistible attraction. No matter how many flies we drove off or swatted, there was always more to take their place. The interior was unevenly illuminated by sunshine flowing in through the gaps in the tree canopy. I could see Hiroka-san and Sakurai lying at opposite ends of the tent, attended at their bedside by Captain Sakashida and Kazuki, respectively.
ほら、食べなさい。食べるのよ。それがあなたの義務。いいえ、これは命令よ。食べなさい。
Hold on, be a little bit nicer. Shit, man. Captain Sakashida scooped some gruel out of the Sierra cup in her hand and pushed the spoon forward, but Hiroka-san bit her lower lip and turned her face aside, rejecting the food outright.
食べたくないんです。
You're dying!
そんなはずはないでしょ。まずいから食べたくないなんて、わがままが許される状況じゃないのは説明したはずです。食べなさい。
I myself had nursed Hiroka-san numerous times over the last week. She never accepted much in the way of food, but the last few days in particular, she hadn't eaten anything remotely approaching a meal. With both legs broken, she was almost entirely unable to move. Spending all day lying down would probably tend to reduce your appetite. And when you happen to be lying down in a confined space, reeking of pus, dirt, and sweat, hunger pangs might, be less of a problem than containing your nausea. The high fever from her fractures lasted 3 days, during which we were forced to keep her on a purely liquid diet. Even after her temperature fell, the most she could ever keep down was a light rice gruel with practically no added ingredients. And even that watery broth she sipped very slowly and in small quantities.
お願いします。もう許してください。
Oh, god damn it. Hiroka-san grated out the words through gritted teeth, her contorted expression begging for a reprieve. As she squeezed her eyes shut, small tears spilled from the corners of her eyes. Oh.
許してって何よ。人聞きの悪いことを言わないで。まるで私があなたをいじめているようじゃない。
Maybe it's because of your fucking attitude. Jesus. Wow. The captain jerked back the spoon and noisily slammed the aluminum cup to the floor in obvious irritation. Get the hold on. Let a nice person like us handle it. The porridge inside was surprisingly thick with rice. Unlike our typical watered down weed soups, it was a legitimate gruel. Compared to the relatively healthy numbers of the group. Numbers? What? Well, there are numbers. The wounded needed more nourishment to help their bodies heal. They must have been receiving preferential rations. At a quick glance, there seemed to be as much rice in that one bowl as I received in a single day.
むしろあなたは感謝するべき立場なのよ。それがどうしてそんな口の利き方ができるというの？
Can you stop? Why do you think we're giving special treatment to invalids who can't even work? Wow. But before the next angry words in this sequence could spill out of Captain Sakashida's mouth, Kazuki, who had been silently cleaning Sakurai's stomach wound the whole time, finally interjected.
人が嫌がっていることを無理強いするのがいじめ以外の何だと言うんです？
Exactly! No bully! Captain Sakashida turned to face Kazuki's back, glaring so fiercely I half expected her to pop a blood vessel.
今の私たちにとってこの一握りのお米がどれだけ貴重かあなたにだって分かっているでしょ？
Yeah, and she doesn't want to eat right now, so...
ええ、もちろん。でも、あなたは間違っています。
You're damn right. You're damn right, Kazuki! If Kazuki noticed the captain's furious glare, she gave no sign of it. Not even bothering to turn around, she just continued treating Sakurai as she spoke.
こんな状況だからこそ力強くも絶対的な存在として甘い顔はできないと考えたのかもしれませんが
Damn. Kazuki.
弱者を相手にいい人ごっこをしている姿を主張したいのなら少しは他者を思いやる姿勢を見せてはいかがですか？
それはあなたのようにずる賢くやってみせろと？
そう私のようにずる賢くです。おつむが弱い分どうしても力押しに頼るのはあなたの悪い癖です。
Yeah, let's just call her stupid while we're at it. Damn. Annihilated. Give wrecked. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Stop it, Kazuki. The tent was unpleasantly humid enough to begin with. I really could have done without the nasty cold sweat drenching my back. I'm also bleeding on my legs and the back of my neck.
ここはもう結構ですからご自分のテントにお戻りになられてはいかがです？
Damn. You just got shit on, Captain.
あなたには後でお話があります。私のテントまで来ていただける？
You don't know. I'm going with. If you got something to discuss, I'm going with. I ain't letting you eat, Kazuki. I ain't letting you do anything to my girl.
まあ怖い。とても一人では訪ねる勇気がないので、アマネを同行させても。
Yes. Oh, I'm coming.
構わないわ。
Wait, she thinks she can take us both down? As she spat out those words, Captain Sakashida's dark, angry eyes flashed over to settle on me. Hi. Whoa! Don't get me mixed up in this. Do not get me mixed up in this, Kazuki! Pierced by the captain's loathing glare, I stiffened in the entrance of the tent like a rock, managing to respond only with a terrified gulp. Maybe she realized how awkward I felt about the whole thing. Maybe not. Either way, Captain Sakashida gave a little snort, then pushed right past me and out the tent.
Kazuki.
Shh! This is good. This is what I wanted.
なーに？情けない声を出さないでちょうだい。それより薬草はどうしたの？
積んできたけど。
I'm also losing. I also lost a lot of blood. I quickly opened the mess kit I'd been carrying. At some point, the snails I'd captured had glued themselves to the opposite side of the lid. Well, there you go.
ありがとう。
I got some snails. Kazuki grabbed a number of chameleon plant leaves from the aluminum cooker, crumpled them into her hand, and deftly began to apply them to the area around Sakurai's wound.
少し染みますか？
少しだけ。でもかゆいよりは痛い方がまだいいわ。いつもありがとう。
It was your fault for going to the swimming. Wait, going and bathing with your fucking wound not even closed all the way.
薬草を積んできたのはアマネです。
スオさん、ありがとう。
No problem. I'm here for the people. Unless you're the captain.
いえ、どういたしまして。
Or the teacher. Because fuck that guy. Sakura Senpai was as placid and soft-spoken as always. Even in the fairly tomboyish basketball team, she'd been generally admired as the greatest beauty in the group. I didn't know the exact details, but apparently her father was a famous stage actor and her mother a former idol singer. Whoa! Born to two such people? It was perhaps unsurprising that she turned out as lovely as she did. Unsurprising. Against such a contrast, the ugly, jagged wound across her abdomen and its crude stitches were all the more painful to look at.
はい、終わりましたよ。テントの外に出て日に当たってください。
お世話になりました。
The presence of the wound must still have been a source of unease, if not discomfort to her. As Sakurai slowly rose from the ground, her hand softly traced the gash from the freshly applied bandages. With a brief, polite bow to Kazuki, she quietly crawled out of the tent. Well,
こんな状況でも美人なんだね、桜井先輩。
okay. I feel like she's also gonna be eaten. Or maybe she's gonna do the eating. Oh no!
そのことあまり本人の前では言わない方がいいわね。彼女演技も下手だし歌も苦手で、自分には容姿以外の取り柄がないって思っているみたいだから。
But she can play basketball, right? That's something.
褒めたつもりでも結果的に彼女を追い詰めることになりかねないわ。
そうなんだ。
God, I hate hearing the fucking flies. In that case, the ugly wound on her stomach must have been a considerable psychological shock. I turned around to peer out the open flap out of the tent as Sakurai slowly walked off into the distance. Her shoulders seemed to be sagging.
金田さんのように顔の怪我じゃなかっただけ幸運だと思わなければね。
To be sure, that would have been even harder on her, yeah. But Kaneda herself didn't seem particularly depressed. Maybe she was just counting herself lucky to have survived? I suppose she might just have been the sort not to sweat the small stuff. She didn't whine about the gash on her head, but by the same token, she wouldn't come to have the wound treated unless we called for her.
今はそんなことより、広岡さん。なかなか気がついてあげられなくてごめんなさい。
Yeah, she was getting bullied.
なんのことですか？
あなたが食事を取りたがらない理由よ。
As she spoke, Kazuki reached out for the zipper of Hiroka-san's tightly closed sleeping bag.
待って、お願い、いや。
恥ずかしいのはわかるけど、このままにはしておけないでしょ。
Hello, Space Marines? Kazuki's voice was far more gentle than I'd ever heard it before. Nonetheless, Hiroka-san broke into painful, bitter sobs like a child begging for forgiveness. She turned her head to the side, her gaze coming to rest on me. There were fat teardrops rolling down her cheeks.
あまね、悪いけどお湯を沸かしてきてくれる？
どれぐらい？
バケツ一杯分。急がないでいいわ。お願い。
Okay,
わかった。
As I turned to leave, a new sharp smell cut through the stuffy air of the tent, and I finally understood the situation. Oh yeah, okay, I was like, she probably pissed herself, didn't she? Hiroka-san soiled herself? Or not just pissed. Oof. Right at that moment, she couldn't even stand up on her own power. At the moment, anyway. With a little maneuvering, she'd probably been able to handle a number 1 by herself, but a number 2? Oh, that would absolutely require external assistance. Hiroka-san had always been the most timid and introverted member of the group. Even under the best of circumstances, she found it difficult to assert herself. She must simply have been too humiliated to ask for help, the help she needed. Man, if my legs were broken, I'd been like, hey, I need help taking a shit over here. Jeez. In other words, she'd been refusing food for the last few days out of sheer terror at producing waste. It all fell horribly into place in an instant. That's so sad. It's okay. Well, you know what? We'll clean you up. We'll get you all nice and ready to go. Then you can eat. Then you'll be fine. You'd eat your rice. If you ever need to take another poop, we'll help. It's fine. Kazuki doesn't care. Her body racked with sobs. Hiroka-san buried her face into her hands. Kazuki spoke to her again, her voice like a comforting caress.
気にすることはないわ。生きていれば当たり前のことなのだから。
Exactly. Oh God. Slightly unsettled by Kazuki's uncharacteristic kindness, I hastily left the tent.
なんだよ、和樹のやつ。私にはあんな優しい顔絶対しないくせにさ。
Oh my God. You really gonna Oh, what is this right now, Amane? Are you fucking serious? Are you like, are you slowly going crazy in the head? Or She never been nice to me. Ew, it sounded like the fucking aliens from Mars Attacks. Oh boy, if you... Oh, she shit herself. I get it. I know, like, but at the same time, it's just like, I know you're timid and shy and shit. Thank God Kazuki fucking figured it out, because, you know, it would have been bad. She kept just not eating. That's just death. That's just death.